Hello friends, this is Wendy with Stampin'. I'm so excited you're here with me today. We are going to be doing some beautiful fall coloring and make a cute card. Now before we even get started talking about the card, I wanted to just quickly share with you that Stampin' Up! Has a new promotion that they've just released on September 1st called Perfect Partners. These are die sets that go with stamp sets that already exist in a current catalog. There are 6 of them total, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. There are 6 total. And I am super excited to get my hands on the dies for like this set, for example. I already had this stamp set, so I purchased the dies to go with it. This is the Fresh Cut Flowers set. But there are Yeti dies, Trimming the Tree dies, the piggies, the little birthday piggy stamp set. There's dies for that now. And if you don't already have some of these stamp sets, the good news is they are offering them as a bundle and you save 10%. So if you're interested in that, there's a link in the description below the video that says measurements and supplies. You want to click on that link and it'll take you directly over to my website where you'll then be able to look at them and get more information and then purchase them there. Okay. So here on the card, I'm using Cajun Craze Dark, Calypso Coral Dark, and Calypso Coral Light to create my shading, or my coloring, I guess you could say. I went in first with the Cajun Craze and laid the darkest lines down where I wanted it to be the darkest. So that would be the areas of shadow that would be like where 2 petals meet each other, or in the center where you want it to appear the darkest, because there would be more shadow there. And then I'll take my lightest Calypso Coral after I'm done with my dark Calypso Coral, and I'll go over the whole thing and blend it out like I am doing here. And these look a little messy until they don't, so you just stick with me. Over on the left-hand side, you will see that I tested out my colors. I kept this on camera on purpose because I wanted you to see that you have to test colors to know what's going to work well together. So on there, you can see where there is a dark and light and dark and light. That was the dark Cajun Craze, light Cajun Craze, dark Calypso Coral, light Calypso Coral. And you can see it does not go well. It doesn't blend well. But when we remove that light Cajun Craze, we get a beautiful blend from dark Cajun to light Calypso, or excuse me, to dark Calypso and then light Calypso. So here I'm using dark and light soft succulent and dark and light mint macaron. I ended up not being crazy about the differentiation between these leaves. I really wanted a contrast in color, and the mint macaron really read closer to soft succulent than I would have liked it to. And I think it's just because they're together on the page, and it just did. So here you can see it just kind of looks like a lighter version of soft succulent. And I wanted it to kind of feel a little bit different. But all in all, at the end of the day, I did a few things to kind of change it up a little bit to get what I wanted. Here I'm going in with the dark mint macaron and just highlighting the one edge to try to make it darker. It still really wasn't dark enough for me, so I ended up using the soft succulent to go in and add a line there. So you can really mix and match your Stampin' blends, just so you know. You don't have to use them just light and dark. Here I'm using the dark soft succulent to go in and add more shadow. The great thing about blends and alcohol-based markers is they layer. So the more times I go over this, the darker it's going to be. And you can see the difference now. I really have a beautiful contrast in my leaves. And here now I'm going in with that dark mint macaron and just kind of pulling that out. Okay, sorry for all the camera shenanigans here, people. These are the dies. They are beautiful. There is a beautiful border die, which we are going to use. And then we've got the die for the flower, and we're going to cut that out. Every time there are dies available for anything, my heart is happy because I really don't, I like fussy cutting, but I don't like fussy cutting something like this. It's too intricate. There's too many little pieces, and that's just too hard for me. So I personally like dies to go with sets that are complex, and like all the little center pieces that this die cut out, I wouldn't have been able to fussy cut all that out. So here we have our card, part of our card. This is cut at 10 by 3 1/4. I scored it at 5 to cut it in half. And then I quickly realized I was not going to be able to run this through my mini machine, and I was going to have to cut the end through my big machine. So I put a piece of tape on there, took it to my my die cut machine, and cut it. Now, I kept this part of the video in because I wanted to show you that these little bits and pieces did not just fall out. Why, might you ask, did they not just fall out? Because I ran this through one time. So I should have run this through 2 or 3 times to make sure I got a really good cut. It is just the nature of cutting anything intricate with your machine. When you use a die cut machine, and every one of them is a little different. I'll just be honest. I've had multiple die cut machines in my life, and some of them cut brilliantly every single time, no matter what I put through it. I've had one machine that was like that. And then other machines, you have to run them through 2 or 3 times. They are just a little bit of a science to them. They're not perfect, bottom line. I will tell you, I've used electronic machines as well that run your die through for you, and the results really aren't any better. So, and I'll tell you, I owned the Gemini and I hated it. So I got rid of it. I gave it away because I despised it. So, you know, you never know. Anyways, what I really wish I had another one of is the Vagabond. Some of you who have been around stamping for a while probably know what that is, but it's an electric die cut machine, and it's very, very similar to like a Big Shot or a Stampin' Cut and Boss. It's just electronic, and they don't make them anymore. So I can't find them, and the one I had broke, which was super sad. So anyway, I digress. Back to the card. So here I'm adding a little strip of Calypso coral cut at a 1/2 inch by 3 1/4. And then this is just the leftover piece from when I die cut. And I thought, hey, why not use it? And I stacked it right on top of that Calypso coral strip, which gives me a finished kind of cool look there on the inside of this little note card piece. And then this part is finished. And as you can see, when you're looking at this, you could use this on its own as a card. You wouldn't even have to add it to anything else. You could punch a hole in the top and add it and use it like a tag on a gift. There's a million different ways you could use this. Okay, let's get into some story time while I continue making this card. It is Saturday, so we always do story time on Saturdays. Well, when I'm recording this, it's Friday, but you get what I mean. If you're new around here and you're not familiar with story time, it's just a time where I take to share what's going on in our lives. And I'm convinced that about half the people that watch my YouTube channel come here just for story time at this point. So if I don't do story time, people get angry. So if story time isn't your jam, but you want to see how I finish this card, you can just mute, or you can put on some music, whatever you want to do. Okay. This is the Charming Sentiments really quick. I was just going to say, this is the Charming Sentiments. I love it. It's one of my very favorite stamp sets. And of course we have to use a grateful sentiment since this is a fall card, right? So story time. My daughter's birthday was this week. She turned 14 years old on Thursday. And on Wednesday night in the evening, my husband and I decided to give her her birthday gift because we wanted to give it to her before Thursday when people would be here at the house. So we have decided to let her buy a horse. So backstory, some of you may know, some of you may not know. I was injured very badly horseback riding in 2007. There was a trifecta of mistakes that were made, and that is why my injury occurred 100%. I shouldn't have been riding a horse, period, because first of all, I shouldn't have even been where I was because technically I was on call with work. So I had no business even being there to begin with. And that is God's little way of saying, if you are obedient, then you don't have these troubles, right? So let's just start there. So, anyway, bottom line, I went off the back of a horse. I landed on my tailbone. It crushed my spine at my L1. Here's that Charming Sentiment bundle. Isn't it beautiful? And then this is the fresh cut flowers. So I wanted to show you guys that really quick because I forgot to at the beginning. Anyway, adding sentiment, finishing off card. There is a free project sheet over on my blog, by the way, for this card. So again, link in the description, measurements and supplies. Click that link. It'll give you every single thing you need to know. Okay. So I crushed my L1. I ended up with a spinal fusion from my T12 to L3. And I was in the hospital a long time. I was in a body cast for 4 months, yada, yada, yada. Okay. That was in 2007. After that point, my husband was like, we're done with horses. I mean, he really had a bitter taste in his mouth about it. Understandably, however, he doesn't have any experience with horses or that kind of life. And trying to explain to him that what happened to me was 100% my own fault is really hard for him to comprehend. It's not the horse's fault. It was my fault. There was a whole trifecta of things that happened. I rode a horse I'd never ridden. The horse hadn't been ridden in 3 months. I hadn't ridden in over a year. Like, there was all kinds of things that made it so I had no business being on a horse. And we were out in the middle of a piece of property gathering cattle, and I did kind of get pushed into riding because I kept saying, no, I want to just stay here. My husband was he was setting up cattle panels, and I just kind of kept saying like, no, I just want to set up the cattle panels and stay here. And my uncle honestly kept pushing me to ride. And instead of just being strong and saying like, absolutely not, I'm not, I gave in to that pressure because he's somebody that's really hard to not give into. And I ended up riding. And so then there you go. Multiple mistakes, multiple lessons learned in that incident. So, and again, not his fault, still my fault. But bottom line, it was a dangerous, stupid situation. So here, really quick, back to the card. I make this background and don't end up using it. I left it in because I wanted to show you guys that it's okay to change your mind and you don't always have to just start over. So I'm finishing this part off and then I end up just completely scrapping the whole thing and doing something different. I thought this would look really cool, but it ended up just looking really busy and it bothered me. So we changed it. All right, moving on. So that's the backstory with horses in our lives. When my daughter was little, she took some horseback riding lessons with our friend Anne, who is very sweet, very safe, a very loving person. And my husband basically kind of told me after she had been taking lessons for about a year that he just didn't feel comfortable with it. And so we stopped. And she was 5, I think, 4 or 5 when she stopped. And literally since that age, she asked over and over and over, can I start horseback riding again? The answer was always no. Last year, she went to my husband at 13 years old and had a serious talk with him and said, I really want to start horseback riding lessons. Can I please start horseback riding lessons again? And he said, you know what? You're old enough now to understand the risk involved. You're old enough now to know that what happened to your mom and how badly you can get hurt. So yes, if you want to start horseback riding, you've been asking for years, fine, go ahead. And he just kind of let go of it. So she did. And she's been taking lessons with my friend from high school, Sheila, who we were pretty inseparable when we were young, this gal and me. And then our lives just went in very different directions and we're very different people and we just ended up not staying as close. But then when it was time for Macie to start writing or taking lessons, I knew that that was one of the people that would be a high on my list to have train Macie, because my friend Sheila is an accomplished writer, horse trainer. She has tons of beautiful horses, and I just knew it would be a good fit. And there's lots of kids that ride over there. And then my friend Anne, who gave Macie lessons originally, is kind of more of a organic, holistic type horse person. So I knew she would be a good fit. So we take lessons with Anne and we take lessons with Sheila once a week, once a week, each of them. And so that's been going on for quite a while, about 6 months, I guess, maybe not quite. And so my daughter has mentioned in the past wanting to get a horse, and my husband has always shot it down hard, like absolutely not. There will be no horses. So I sat down and talked with him a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, we should consider this, and he agreed. So we are horse shopping. So that's the exciting thing happening in our house. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the card. If you need any of the products, shop with me at shoploveandstampin.com. Don't forget, you can get the link below the video to everything that you need. And I will catch you again next week with more fun card making videos.